Hey there, and welcome back to the VEX IQ Guide. In today's video, we're going to be diving into gears, specifically gear ratios. Gear ratios are a great tool in VEX when increasing speed or torque, depending on how you use them. We're also going to be doing the same thing with sprockets as well. Let's take a look at how to use these essential tools. As seen here, when we put a small gear on the motor and connect it to a big gear, we increase torque, which is the same thing as power of the big gear, as we can see here. On the other hand, when we put the big gear to the motor and spin the small gear not on the motor, we increase speed on the small gear, as you can see here. You might be wondering why a large gear spinning a small gear results in an increase in speed, and vice versa for torque. Well, the simple answer is that it comes down to the revolutions of the gear. Remember that one revolution of a big gear takes a lot longer than one revolution of a small gear. So in the time that a big gear makes one full revolution, a smaller gear will have made many more revolutions, causing it to increase in speed. And the same logic can be applied reverse when we're going from a small gear to a large gear. Now that we understand how speed or torque can be increased using gear ratios, let's take a look at how we can use some basic math to better control these principles. If you remember the first clip that we showed of the gear spinning, you remember that the big gear spun pretty slow, whereas when we do it like this, the 36-tooth gear spins slow, but not as slow as the 60-tooth gear. This is because of how gear ratios work. As you can see side by side, the 60-tooth gear is spinning slower. This is because, in order to take the actual gear ratio, we can take the number of teeth on each gear and divide them to get the gear ratio. In this case, it would be a 36-tooth gear with a 12-tooth gear, meaning that we have a 3-to-1 ratio of torque. On the other hand, when we have the 60-tooth gear and the 12-tooth gear, we had a 5-to-1 ratio in torque because 60 divided by 12 gets us 5. The same logic applies for speed as well, when we had our big 60-tooth gear spinning the 12-tooth gear. Because 60 divided by 12 is 5, here we have a 5-to-1 ratio of speed. 3-to-1 and 5-to-1 aren't the only ratios you can make though. You can mix and match any gears you want to customize the ratios to whatever you need. Just remember that when you increase speed, you also decrease torque. And when you increase torque, you decrease speed. So remember that it always comes at a cost. Now let's take that exact concept and use it with sprockets. As we can see here, the 16-tooth sprocket is spinning the 24-tooth sprocket, which creates a 1.5-to-1 ratio for torque because 24 divided by 16 is 1.5. In this mechanism, we see 3 gears. The 36-tooth gear in the middle doesn't actually serve a purpose in the actual ratio, because the ratio is determined by the 2 outside gears, which are the 60-tooth and the 12-tooth. So the ratio here is still 5-to-1 for torque. However, that middle gear is called an idler gear, which doesn't actually change the ratio, but can be used for either making the correct amount of space or simply changing the direction of the ratio. Remember that a gear spins the next gear in the opposite direction, so having that gear in the middle does actually change the direction of where the 60-tooth gear spins. Let's take a look at a quick tip when using gear ratios. While it's great to customize your gear ratios, remember that not all gears can go together perfectly. As you can see here, the 36 and the 12-tooth gear can go together nicely because when placed on the middle hole of a 2x-beam, they fit together well. However, when we place the 36-tooth gear and the 24-tooth gear together, they don't actually line up together nicely on the middle hole. This makes it so that if you want to place both of them on the middle hole, you wouldn't be able to do so with the 24 and 36-tooth gear. With that in mind, let's go over all of the gears that go together really nicely and the ones that don't as well. Firstly, the 60-tooth gear, the 36-tooth gear, and the 12-tooth gear all go together great. If you are only working on the middle hole of a beam, these will all go together nicely. However, if you're dealing with any of those gears in the 24 tooth gear or the 48 tooth gear, those won't go together as nicely, and you won't be able to put all of them on the middle hole lining up together. The 24 and the 48 tooth gear, though, do line up together on the middle hole nicely, so you can use those two together for a 2-to-1 ratio. While certain gears don't go well together on the same line, we can still pair them together if we absolutely have to. As you can see here, by placing a gear on the middle hole and another gear that doesn't go well with it on the diagonal hole, they still can go together. Now, I don't recommend doing this because it will make a lot of unevenness in your build and it just isn't a great building practice. I would generally stick with the gears that go well together on the same line. That's just about it for today on gear ratios. Always remember that when you're going from a larger gear to a smaller gear, you increase speed, whereas when you go from a smaller gear to a larger gear, you increase torque. Now, while this was a lot in this video, there's still more to gears, so be sure to check out some of my other videos on this topic to get a full, in-depth understanding. As always, if you found this video helpful, be sure to like it and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. See you in the next one!